Welcome. Should you be viewing this recording or listening at another time, be certain to align with this group, gathered to build a substantial field of group support for your endeavors in dissipating glamour and dispelling illusion. Now let us align and focus. With purity of motive, inspired by a loving heart,
let us align as soul with all those studying and meditating with Master Dwal Kul, here today, joining us subjectively, and those who are assisting from the other side of the veil. Breathe in effortlessly and easily. See our group moving through the field of lotus blossoms floating, lining our path toward Master DK's study. We pause at the ivory door which opens as the Master greets us and invites us in for our contemplative approach to advancing as a discipleship group in the energies of this zodiacal sign, into the study and dissipation of glamour and dispelling of illusion, as individuals supported by this larger group. We stand around Master Dwal Kul and see 3 windows filled with light. We stand in silence as he turns and faces the east. Together we enter this point of light.
I am one with my group brothers and sisters, and all that I have is theirs. May the love of the one soul pour forth to all. May the energy of one soul lift and aid all. May the thoughts which the soul creates reach and encourage all. May the energy of the divine self be spread abroad, in our hearts, through our groups, and throughout the world.
Our aim is to embody spiritual discernment, practice positive harmlessness, and eventually achieve a state of divine indifference. As we dispel illusion, dissipate glamours, devitalize Maya in all our relationships.
Quoting Master DK, to the man, therefore, who undertakes wholeheartedly the process of occult meditation, I would say with all conciseness, make an effort to know thyself, proceed slowly and with caution, study effects.
What is required of the individual? According to Master DK, 3 stages that the individual needs to have at least worked on to some extent are practiced meditation, deep reflection upon the nature of thought and its uses, and developed awareness of the light within. When these 3 stages are established as related activities, habits, and automatic reactions, and when the intention is fixed and the ability to focus has become an almost instinctual reaction, then sound and effective work can be done. To this work must be added persistence and patience. It is not necessary, I might add, to have achieved perfection in the process before starting this work and service. Disciples and aspirants must cultivate the consciousness of cooperation and realization that in service, such as is proposed, they are definitely participating in a hierarchical activity and are therefore in a position to render help, even if they could not alone and unaided achieve the desired results. They can hasten the process by their combined help.
You will have to exercise the deepest watchfulness in the endeavor to work thus on the astral plane, holding simultaneously the attitude of the observer on the high plane of the soul. No constructive work and no service of vital importance can be rendered in this difficult sphere of activity unless there is this detached and liberated attitude. You are to work in one of the most difficult spheres of activity, perhaps the most difficult to which a disciple can be called, and hence the advisability of working there in group formation. I cannot emphasize too strongly that you are to work as a group and not as individuals.
First must come, however, aptitude in dispelling glamour and illusion in the personal life of each one of you. You will have to watch with care for the undue stimulation of your astral or emotional nature, with consequent and subsequent glamour. You will have to exercise the deepest watchfulness in the endeavor to work thus on the astral plane, holding simultaneously the attitude of the observer on the high plane of the soul. No constructive work and no service of vital importance can be rendered in this difficult sphere of activity unless there is the detached and liberated attitude. And remember Master DK's words. There are many and different kinds of glamour, and disciples are frequently surprised when they learn what it is regarded as glamour by the masters.
I will enumerate a few of the more general glamours for you, leaving you to make any needed application and expansion of the idea from the individual to humanity as a whole. There are many other glamours, both individual and worldwide, but these will serve to indicate a general tendency. Those who are in preparation for initiation must learn to work consciously with glamour. They must work effectively with the presented truth, ignoring any pain or suffering or mental questioning which is incident to personality rebellion and limitation. They must cultivate that divine indifference to personal considerations, which is the outstanding hallmark of the trained initiate.
1. The glamour of destiny. This is a glamour which indicates to the one whom it controls that he has important work to do and that he must speak and work as destined. This feeds a pride which has no foundation in fact. 2. The glamour of aspiration. Those thus conditioned are completely satisfied and preoccupied with their aspiration towards the light and rest back upon the fact that they are aspirants. Such people need to move onward onto the path of discipleship and cease their preoccupation and satisfaction with their spiritual ambitions and goals. Three, the glamour of self-assurance, or of what might be called the astral principles of the disciple. This is the belief, in plain language, that the disciple regards that his point of view is entirely right. This again feeds pride and tends to make the disciple believe himself to be an authority and infallible. It is the background of the theologian. 4, the glamour of duty. This leads to an overemphasis of the sense of responsibility, producing lost motion and the emphasis of the non-essential. 5, the glamour of environing conditions, leading frequently to a sense of frustration or of futility or of importance. 6, the glamour of the mind and of its efficiency and its capacity to deal with any or every problem. This leads inevitably to isolation and loneliness. 7, the glamour of devotion, leading to an undue stimulation of the astral body. The man or woman thus glamoured sees only one idea, one person, one authority, and one aspect of truth. It feeds fanaticism and spiritual pride. 8, the glamour of desire, with its reflex action upon the physical body. This leads to a constant condition of fighting and of turmoil. It negates all peace and fruitful work and must someday be brought to an end. 9, the glamour of personal ambition.
Having identified an individual glamour to dissipate, we continue with the technique or formula for the dissipating of individual glamour given to us by Master Dwal Kul in Glamour, a World Problem. We sound the protective formula, making the sign of the cross of divinity, the long-armed vertical cross, touching the forehead. As a soul, I work in light, the center of the chest, and darkness cannot touch me. The left eye. I take my stand within the light. I work the right eye, and from that point, I never move. By an act of the creative imagination, endeavor to see and hear the soul, the source of light and power in the three worlds. Breathe out the Om inaudibly. into the mind of the attentive waiting personality. There, the light and power of the soul is retained and held by the positive personality. The retained light and power combines with the dual light of the personality, the light of matter, the light of the brain consciousness, and the nervous system. That light, united with the light of mind as a dual light, becomes the light of the personality, focused on the mental plane. This generates an intense light, which can be visualized as a searchlight of great brilliance and strength. This dual light is seen as a sphere of vivid, brilliant light, but not yet radiating out or projecting outwards. The light of the soul is seen on its own plane. The light of the soul is now seen radiating onto the mental plane. The light of the personality and the light of the concrete mind are united, and the soul radiates in unison with these two lesser lights. The light of the soul, the three united lights, then radiate together as soul light onto the astral plane, never onto or into the astral body. The soul light, as the three united lights, radiate together as soul light onto the astral plane. Having achieved satisfactorily this act of visualization, pause and focus all the will one has behind the light, thus creating fusion of the three lights. This is what Patanjali calls mind held steady in the light. The will behind the triple light in this act of fusion. This use of the will, the soul personality will, is dynamic, but at this stage still quiescent and not magnetic or radiatory. The mind held steady in the light. Next, we follow a process wherein the glamour to be dissipated and the searchlight of the mind are brought into relationship by the power of thought. The glamour you will name and its quality, and the searchlight and its power are recognized. Carefully think out the effects brought about by that relationship. The searchlight and the power of the soul with the triple light brought into relationship with the glamour and its quality. This is not done in such a way that the mind process, light and power, strengthens the already powerful glamour. This is done in such a way that at the close of the process, the glamour will be appreciably weakened and eventually dissipated. This is an important realization. Having as far as possible achieved the needed concentration, realization, and relationship, then, by an act of the will and the creative imagination, turn on the searchlight and see a vivid beam of light stream forth and pierce the glamour. You're visualizing a broad, brilliant beam pouring forth from the illumined mind onto the astral plane. With will and creative imagination, you must believe this is so. The light streaming forth, piercing the glamour, pouring forth from the illumined mind onto the astral plane. Now comes an important and difficult phase of the work, naming the glamour and seeing it in process of dissipation. The process is aided by saying from a point of tension inaudibly, the power of the light prevents the appearance of the glamour. Name it. The power of the light negates the quality of the glamour from affecting me. The power of the light destroys the life behind the glamour. The light then pierces the glamour in all three aspects: appearance, quality, and life. The saying of these three sentences constitutes an affirmation of power and of purpose, and are enunciated at a point of tension, focused, immovable, soul, personality, will, with the mind held in steadiness and with a positive orientation. Again, the sacred word is sounded inaudibly, with intent to produce what is called an act of penetration. The light is seen accomplishing three things. You have made a definite impact upon the glamour. The light has penetrated the glamour and is being absorbed by it, dissipating it slowly. As time elapses, the glamour will never again be so powerful and will eventually disappear altogether. The strength of the fusion of the dual lights with the light of the soul increases. The beam of light becomes more brilliant and more focused. By the act of penetration, the glamour is dissipated slowly and eventually disappears altogether. Now consciously withdraw the beam of light back to the mind. The mind held steady in the light. You deliberately withdraw the beam of light and reorient yourself upon the mental plane. The strength and power of your focus on the mental plane has been aided in this process. We remember that glamour is never immediately dissipated, for it is of too ancient an origin, but that the persistent use of this formula will weaken the glamour, and slowly and inevitably it will vanish. And you will walk free from that particular hindrance. This may seem like it is very long, but over time, as you become more familiar and clearly apprehend what you're intended to do, you will be able to use the formula quite rapidly. It will become automatic. We thank the soul, the source of love wisdom. Gratitude to Master DK for giving us this formula. And we close with the mantra of light. Together and in vocal unison, we say, radiance we are and power. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the heavens and the earth, the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus, with the light, we work and turn the darkness into day.